No one could reach the sniper anymore. Command called. No answer. Scout teams pushed forward. None returned. Through the blizzard and bullets, only one frequency remained, a call sign erased from military records. When they called out in desperation, Echo 7, if you're alive, respond. 1 second of silence. Then that voice rang out, calm, cold, as if she'd never left the battlefield. Echo 7 listening. Who needs me? The winter had teeth. Captain James Thornton pressed his back against frozen earth, breath crystallizing in the air. Around him, the defensive line crumbled like wet paper. 3 kilometers of trenches, gone in 40 minutes. Command, this is Bravo 6. We are taking heavy. Static swallowed the transmission. His radio operator, Private Chen, lay motionless 10 meters away. The snow around him was dark. Thornton's hand shook as he reached for the backup channel. Not from fear, from cold. At least that's what he told himself. Any station. This is Bravo 6. Multiple casualties. Requesting immediate extract. A bullet struck the embankment above his head. Dirt rained down. He dropped flat. Through the scope of his rifle, he saw them. Enemy forces moving through the storm like shadows. Disciplined, coordinated. They'd known exactly where to hit. Someone had given them the playbook. Behind him, Lieutenant Sarah Morrison dragged a wounded sergeant toward the aid station. Her uniform was shredded at the shoulder, blood freezing against the fabric. "Captain!" she shouted over the wind. "Major Henderson is down. Shrapnel to the chest. He's not." "I know." Thornton crawled to her position. The wounded sergeant wasn't breathing anymore. Morrison's eyes were hollow. "We can't hold this position. We don't have a choice. We don't have ammunition." Thornton checked his magazine. 11 rounds. He'd started the day with 200. The command bunker was silent now, either destroyed or abandoned. The only sounds were wind, distant gunfire, and the labored breathing of dying men. Morrison pulled out a crumpled map, hands trembling. "There's an old observation post, 7 clicks north. If we can reach, we'll be cut down in the open. Better than waiting here to be overrun." Thornton stared at the map. The observation post had been decommissioned 3 years ago. No supplies, no support, just 4 walls and a roof. But it was higher ground. He was about to give the order when Corporal Blake stumbled into the trench, uniform smoking, face blackened by powder burns. Sir Blake gasped, collapsing. "The east flank is gone. Everyone. They had positions we didn't even know about." "How many?" "All of them, sir. 37 soldiers. They were dead before they could call for help." Morrison closed her eyes. Thornton's radio crackled with fragmented voices. "Under fire. Need medic. God, they're everywhere." Then silence. He switched frequencies, searching for any intact unit. Nothing but static and ghost signals. That's when Blake said it. "Sir." "There's one more option." Thornton looked at him. Blake's voice dropped. "In the archives, there's a classified file, codename Echo 7. Morrison frowned. "That's a legend. A ghost story they tell recruits." "Major Henderson mentioned it," Blake insisted. Before he said if we were ever this desperate, if communications failed completely, there was one frequency that might still work." "What frequency?" "The old forward recon channel, the one they sealed after the Kalvik operation." Thornton had heard the stories. Every soldier had. Echo 7, the phantom sniper, the one who'd held an entire mountain pass alone for 3 days, who'd eliminated 47 targets without missing, who'd vanished after completing a mission that officially never happened. Some said she'd died. Others claimed she'd defected. A few whispered she'd simply walked away, disgusted with command decisions that had killed her team. "That was 6 years ago," Thornton said. "If she even existed, she's long gone." "Henderson kept the frequency card," Blake said, pulling a laminated sheet from his vest. "He told me it was insurance, for when everything went wrong." Morrison grabbed the card. The numbers were faded but legible. "This is insane," she said. "Do we have another option?" Blake asked. The wind howled. Somewhere in the distance, artillery boomed. Thornton took the frequency card. "Get me a secure channel," he ordered. "If this is our last transmission, we might as well make it count." Private Danny Foster had been in country for 6 weeks when he first heard about Echo 7. It was during a supply run, in a half-collapsed bunker that smelled like diesel and old sweat. The veterans spoke in low voices, the way people do when discussing the dead. "She could shoot through walls," one said. "Bullshit. I'm serious. She knew where they were before they moved. Like she could see through solid matter." "That's impossible." Tell that to the 40 guys she dropped in Kalvik. Foster had listened, not quite believing but not quite dismissing it either. Now, huddled in the frozen trench, he watched Captain Thornton adjust the old radio with shaking fingers. Lieutenant Morrison stood beside him, arms crossed. "This is a waste of time. Then it won't matter," Thornton replied. Blake handed him a headset. "Frequency's locked in, sir, but I'm not getting any carrier signal. That just means no one's transmitting, or the channel's dead." Thornton ignored him and pressed the transmit button. "Echo 7, this is Bravo 6 actual. If you're receiving, we need immediate fire support. Coordinates to follow." Static. Morrison shook her head. "I told you. Echo 7, we have multiple casualties and are about to be overrun. Requesting any available support. Please respond." Nothing. Foster felt his stomach sink. They'd wasted precious minutes on a ghost. Thornton tried again, voice harder now. "Echo 7. This is an emergency transmission. If anyone is monitoring this channel..." "No one's there, sir," Blake said quietly. But Thornton didn't stop. "Echo 7, if you can hear this. We're dying out here. 23 soldiers pinned down. No ammunition. No extract. We need..." He paused, something shifting in his expression. "We need you." The silence that followed felt heavier than the snow. Morrison put a hand on his shoulder. "Come on. We need to move now, while we still..." The radio hissed. Everyone froze. Through the static came a voice. Female, calm, cold as the winter around them. "Echo 7, listening. Who needs me?" Foster's blood went ice. Thornton stared at the radio like it had just spoken in a dead language. His hand hovered over the transmit button. Morrison's mouth opened. No words came out. Blake whispered, "Holy shit." Thornton pressed the button, forcing his voice steady. "This is Captain James Thornton, Bravo Company, 2nd Battalion. We're under heavy assault. Need immediate." "I know where you are," the voice interrupted. "I can see your position." Thornton exchanged glances with Morrison. "You can see us?" "Thermal signature. 19 bodies still moving. You're grouped near the eastern trench line, approximately 40 meters from a destroyed command bunker. You have 14 minutes before enemy forces complete their encirclement." The precision was unnerving. "Who are you?" Morrison demanded, grabbing the radio. Silence. Then, "You called me. That means you're desperate enough not to ask questions. We need to know. You need fire support. I can provide it. But I have one condition." "Name it." "Don't ask where I am. Don't try to find me. Don't send anyone to my position. You get my help from a distance, or you don't get it at all." Thornton took the radio back. "Agreed. What do you need from us?" "Stay alive for 12 minutes. I'm repositioning." "Wait." But the channel went dead. Foster looked at Captain Thornton. "Sir, what just happened?" Thornton's face was pale. "I think we just made a deal with a ghost." The old communication system hummed to life with reluctance, circuits warming after years of disuse. Lieutenant Morrison stared at the radio as if it might explode. "This doesn't make sense. That channel was decommissioned, encrypted. There's no way." She answered. Thornton cut in. His voice had changed. Steadier now, like a man who'd been drowning and suddenly found solid ground beneath his feet. "We don't even know if it's really her," Morrison pressed. "Could be enemy intelligence. A trap." "Then we're already dead," Blake said flatly. "Might as well see what happens." Foster checked his rifle for the 3rd time in as many minutes. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. The cold, or the fear, or both. Around them, the remaining soldiers of Bravo Company huddled in whatever cover they could find. Some bandaged wounds. Others simply stared at nothing. That 1,000-yard look Foster had seen in documentary footage but never in person. Not until today. Private Rachel Kim crouched beside a dead sergeant, methodically removing ammunition from his vest. She didn't look at his face. Foster didn't blame her. "How much time?" Thornton asked. Blake checked his watch. 9 minutes since she went off channel. "Enemy movement?" "Still advancing. Slower now. They're being cautious." "Don't know, sir. It's like they're waiting for something." Morrison crawled to the trench edge, raising binoculars with frost-covered lenses. Through the swirling snow, she could make out shapes moving methodically through the ruins of the forward positions. "They're not waiting," she said. "They're searching. Looking for something." "For what?" She lowered the binoculars. "For her. Echo 7. They know she's out there." The implication settled over them like another layer of snow. "You're saying they're as afraid of her as..." A single shot rang out. Not close. Distant. Maybe 800 meters north. Through the storm, they heard the sound of someone screaming. Then silence. Thornton's radio crackled. Echo 7 to Bravo 6. Enemy sniper team eliminated. You have 17 hostiles advancing on your position from bearing 270. Prepare to move on my signal. Morrison grabbed the radio before Thornton could respond. How do you know their exact position? Because I'm watching them through a scope, and they're about to have a very bad day. The connection cut out again. Foster felt his pulse hammering. Whoever this Echo 7 was, she wasn't just talking. She was already in position, already working. Another shot, this one closer. Then 2 more in rapid succession. The enemy advance stuttered. Voices shouted in confusion through the storm. What's happening? Kim asked, magazine halfway loaded. Blake's eyes were wide. She's engaging. She's actually doing it. 4 more shots. Measured. Patient. Each one followed by a different scream, a different voice calling for a medic that wouldn't come. The enemy fire grew erratic. Undisciplined. They were shooting at shadows now, burning ammunition on ghosts. Thornton's radio. Bravo 6. Enemy line is broken. You have a corridor 40 meters wide, bearing 035. Move now. You have 90 seconds before they regroup. Where do we go? Follow the tracers. I'll mark your path. Tracers? We don't have. A bright streak cut through the snow, striking a boulder 30 meters ahead. Then another, and another. A dotted line of burning phosphorus cutting through the darkness. She's using tracer rounds, Morrison breathed, marking the safe route. Thornton didn't hesitate. Everyone up, we move now. The soldiers rose as one, discipline overriding exhaustion. They'd been waiting for orders, for something to do besides die slowly in the cold. Now they had direction. They ran. Foster sprinted through knee-deep snow, lungs burning, rifle clutched to his chest. Around him, others did the same. Some helped the wounded. Others provided covering fire at targets they couldn't even see. More shots from Echo 7, each one impossibly precise, each one dropping an enemy soldier who'd gotten too close to their escape route. 70 meters. 50. The ground exploded to their left. Mortar fire. The enemy had finally zeroed in. Keep moving, Thornton roared. Another tracer round struck ahead, marking their next waypoint. 30 meters. 20. Blake stumbled, caught himself, kept running. They reached the tree line just as the mortars found their old position. The trench where they'd been pinned erupted in fire and shrapnel. Foster collapsed behind a thick pine, gasping. His legs felt like rubber. Morrison did a head count. 19. We're all here. Thornton raised the radio. Echo 7. We're clear. Thank. Don't thank me yet. They're regrouping. You need to keep moving. There's a rocky outcrop 1 click east. Defensible position. Get there and wait for extraction. What about you? I'll keep them busy. Echo 7. But she was already gone. The scope was an extension of her eye. Through the falling snow and bitter wind, through 700 meters of hostile terrain, Elena Navarro watched the enemy forces below with the patience of a predator. Echo 7. A name she hadn't used in 6 years. A name that still tasted like blood and betrayal. But the soldiers didn't need to know that. They'd called. She'd answered. That was enough. Her position was perfect. A collapsed radio tower on the ridge, providing both elevation and concealment. The snow had done the rest, covering her tracks, turning her into another shadow in a landscape full of them. She adjusted her rifle, a custom build, parts scavenged and modified over years of isolation. The scope was military grade, liberated from a depot that officially never existed. The suppressor was homemade but effective. 14 rounds left. She'd have to make them count. Through the scope, she watched the enemy squad leaders arguing. Their body language told the story. Confusion, anger, fear. They'd lost 12 soldiers to an attacker they couldn't locate. Their advance had stalled. They were thinking about retreat. She wouldn't let them. Not yet. One squad leader raised a radio to his mouth. Elena read his lips, understood the words even without hearing them. He was calling for reinforcements. Air support. That couldn't happen. She centered the crosshairs on his chest, exhaled slowly, squeezed. The rifle kicked gently against her shoulder. Through the scope, she watched the squad leader drop. Chaos erupted below. Soldiers scattered, diving for cover, firing blindly into the storm. She could have picked off 3 more while they panicked, but that wasn't the objective. The objective was psychological warfare. Keep them scared. Keep them disorganized. Make them waste ammunition on ghosts. She shifted position, low-crawling 15 meters to a secondary vantage point. Never stay static. That's how you die. Her radio military surplus, modified to access frequencies that were supposed to be locked, crackled with encrypted chatter. The enemy was adapting, trying to triangulate her position based on muzzle flash and sound. They'd get close, eventually, but not close enough. She switched to the command channel she'd been monitoring. The Bravo Company frequency. They thought it was secure. They were wrong. Reaching the outcrop now. Set up defensive positions. No sign of pursuit. Good. They'd followed her directions. Now came the hard part, keeping them alive long enough for extraction. Elena checked her watch. The nearest evac unit was 40 minutes out, assuming they even responded to the distress beacon. Command had a habit of abandoning soldiers when the situation got too complicated. She'd learned that the hard way. Through the scope, she spotted movement. 3 enemy soldiers attempting to flank the outcrop where Bravo Company had taken shelter. Smart. Disciplined. She adjusted for wind and distance. First shot, lead soldier center mass. Down. Second shot, trailing soldier reaching for radio. Down. Third shot, middle soldier turning to run. Down. The rest of the enemy force pulled back, unwilling to advance without knowing where death would come from next. Her radio hissed, "Echo 7, this is Bravo 6. Enemy forces have withdrawn. What's your status?" Elena considered not answering, letting them think she was gone. It would be easier that way. But something in the captain's voice stopped her. Not fear. Determination. The kind of voice that reminded her why she'd picked up the rifle in the first place. "Still here," she replied. "You have 35 minutes until extraction window. Stay put. Stay quiet." "Understood. Echo 7. Who are you?" The question hung in the frozen air. She almost laughed. Almost. "Someone who made a mistake 6 years ago," she said finally. "I'm trying not to make it again." Before he could respond, she switched off the radio and returned to her scope. The enemy was regrouping, bringing up heavier weapons. They'd figured out that frontal assault wouldn't work, so they'd try to burn them out. Elena counted 4 mortar teams, setting up positions. Too many targets, too spread out. She couldn't stop them all, but she could make them pay for every round they fired. She settled into her position, breathing slowly, finger resting gently on the trigger. The wind shifted. Snow fell harder, and Echo 7 went back to work. The outcrop was barely defensible. Lieutenant Morrison supervised the placement of claymore mines while Private Foster and Corporal Blake reinforced the perimeter with whatever they could find. Fallen logs, rocks, desperation. Captain Thornton sat with his back against stone, radio in hand, staring at nothing. "Sir?" Morrison approached cautiously. "We should discuss fallback positions. She knows this area," Thornton said quietly. "Every approach, every angle. She's been here before." "How can you tell?" "The way she directed us. Not from a map. From memory. She's walked this ground." Morrison crouched beside him. "The Kalvik operation. You think she was part of it?" Thornton nodded slowly. "I pulled the file. Or what's left of it. Most of it's redacted. But there was a forward recon team. Call sign Echo. They were supposed to identify enemy positions for an artillery strike. What happened?" Command got impatient. Ordered the strike before Echo team could extract. 3 soldiers died. Only 1 made it out. The sniper. "No!" Thornton's jaw tightened. The sniper stayed behind, held the position while the survivor evacuated. According to the report, she bought them 18 hours. Then the signal went dead. But she's alive. She's alive. And she's been out here ever since. Morrison processed this. 6 years. Alone. In hostile territory. It should have been impossible. Unless you didn't want to be found. "Why did she answer our call?" Morrison asked. "I don't know." Blake jogged over, breathing hard. "Captain, we've got movement. South Ridge. Looks like a patrol." Thornton stood, raising binoculars. Through the swirling snow, he saw them. 4 soldiers moving carefully through the trees, scanning for targets. His radio crackled. "Bravo 6. I see them. Stay low." "Echo 7. They're headed straight for us." Not for long. A shot rang out. The lead patrol member collapsed. The others scattered, taking cover, trying to return fire at an enemy they couldn't locate. Another shot. Another body. The remaining 2 abandoned their position and fled. "Patrol neutralized," Echo 7 reported. "But you need to understand something." "What?" "They're not trying to kill you anymore. They're trying to draw me out. Every soldier they send is bait." Thornton felt ice in his stomach. "They know you're protecting us. They know someone is. And they're going to keep pushing until I reveal my position or they overrun yours. Either way, you're caught in the middle. Then we need to move." No, you stay put. Movement will get you killed faster than staying hidden. Echo 7. We can't just sit here and tell me something, Captain. Her voice had changed. Colder. Why did your command send you here? To this specific location? Thornton hesitated. It was a forward observation post. Standard deployment. With inadequate support. Minimal ammunition. No extraction plan. You were sent here to fail. What are you talking about? Someone wanted you exposed. Wanted you vulnerable. This ambush wasn't random. You were set up. Morrison grabbed the radio. That's impossible. Our orders came directly from someone who knew exactly when and where to hit you. Someone who made sure you'd be wiped out before anyone could respond. The accusation hung like smoke. Blake's voice was quiet. Major Henderson. Right before he died, he said something about a leak. About wrong coordinates. Thornton's hands clenched. You're saying someone in command deliberately. I'm saying I've seen this before. 6 years ago. When my team was sacrificed for a mission that didn't matter. When the artillery strike came early because someone decided our lives were acceptable losses. Elena's voice carried the weight of old ghosts. I tried to save them. I stayed behind. I held the position. And when I finally made it back to base, they told me I was lying. That I'd abandoned my post. That the mission failure was my fault. Silence on the channel. So, I disappeared. Because dead soldiers don't ask questions. And ghosts can't testify about command incompetence. Echo 7, Thornton said carefully. If what you're saying is true, it doesn't matter if it's true. What matters is keeping you alive long enough to find out. Someone wanted you dead. I'm making sure they don't get what they want. The radio went quiet. Morrison looked at Thornton. Do you believe her? I believe someone's trying very hard to kill us. Everything else is just details. Private Kim called out from the perimeter. Sir, multiple contacts. They're surrounding us. Thornton raised the radio. Echo 7, we have. I know. Get everyone down. Now. They dropped. 10 seconds later, the first mortar round struck. Elena counted 12 mortar positions. Too many to neutralize individually. They'd saturate the outcrop before she could eliminate half of them. She needed a different approach. Through her scope, she identified the fire direction center, a cluster of 3 officers coordinating the barrage. Take them out, and the mortar teams would lose coordination. Their fire would become scattered, ineffective. But the officers were smart. They'd positioned themselves behind heavy cover, surrounded by security. A direct shot was impossible, which meant she had to get creative. Elena studied the terrain. The officers were positioned near a fuel depot, probably captured supplies. 3 drums of diesel, stacked carelessly. She smiled without humor, adjusted her aim. The first round punched through the top drum. Diesel sprayed. The second round struck lower, igniting the fuel with a spark from the ricochet. The explosion wasn't massive, but it was enough. Flame and smoke erupted, consuming the officer's position. Soldiers scattered, some on fire, all disoriented. The mortar barrage faltered. Elena switched targets immediately. Now the mortar teams themselves. Without coordination, they were exposed. She worked methodically. 1 shot, 1 kill, reposition, repeat. The enemy forces had gone from hunters to hunted in the span of 90 seconds. They began to retreat. But Elena wasn't done. She keyed her radio. Bravo 6, enemy is withdrawing northeast. If you have any long-range capabilities left, now's the time. We're down to small arms, Thornton replied. Then make them count. Start firing at grid 729er. Doesn't matter if you hit anything. I need them to think you have more resources than you do. You want us to fake a counterattack? I want you to look dangerous. If they think they're caught between 2 forces, they'll pull back completely. Morrison's voice. That's a hell of a bluff. Welcome to asymmetric warfare. Captain Thornton gave the order. Bravo Company opened fire on the designated grid. Rifles cracking, muzzle flashes visible through the storm. Not accurate, not devastating, but loud, coordinated, appearing to come from a unit that still had fight left. Combined with Elena's precision strikes, it created an illusion. That Bravo Company wasn't a desperate remnant but the tip of a larger force. The enemy bought it. Their withdrawal became a rout. Within 5 minutes, the ridge was clear. Elena allowed herself 1 moment to breathe. Just 1. Then she checked her ammunition. 8 rounds left. The extraction window was in 23 minutes. If the enemy regrouped before then, she wouldn't have enough ammunition to hold them off again. Her radio. Echo 7. They're gone. You did it. Elena didn't reply immediately. She was scanning the horizon, looking for movement, for the next threat. Because there was always a next threat. "They'll be back," she said finally. "With armor, with air support. They're not going to let you walk away from this." "Then what do we do?" "You pray your extraction arrives on time. And I keep doing what I do, which is making them regret ever looking for me." She switched frequencies, listening to enemy communications. They were already calling for reinforcements, heavy weapons, gunships. The window was closing. Elena checked the sky. The storm was intensifying. That would ground aircraft, but it also meant visibility was dropping to near zero. She had to keep the enemy fixated on the wrong position, keep them chasing shadows while Bravo Company slipped away, which meant revealing herself. Not her position, just enough of a presence to draw attention. She fired a single shot into the enemy staging area, not at a person, at a communications antenna. The structure collapsed, severing their primary radio link. Immediately, she displaced, moved 300 meters west to a pre-scouted secondary position, fired again, this time at a vehicle, displaced again. The enemy began firing blindly in her direction, hundreds of rounds chewing through empty forest. She was already gone. One more shot, this time from the north. They spun to face the new threat. Elena smiled coldly. They were dancing to her rhythm now, and she would keep them dancing until Bravo Company was safe, or until her ammunition ran out, whichever came first. The radio transmission came through at 1,847 hours. "All units, this is Hawk Actual. General withdrawal is in effect. Extract immediately to Rally Point Zulu. Acknowledge." Captain Thornton stared at the radio. Lieutenant Morrison grabbed it. "Hawk Actual. This is Bravo 6. We have wounded and are under heavy. Acknowledged, Bravo 6. Evac birds are inbound to Rally Point Zulu. You have 14 minutes. Hawk Actual out." The channel went dead. Blake checked the map. Rally Point Zulu is 6 kilometers. Through enemy territory. We'll never make it. "We have to try," Morrison said. But Thornton was already switching to the old frequency, the one that shouldn't exist. Echo 7, command has ordered full withdrawal. Extraction is at Rally Point Zulu. Can you... I heard the transmission, Elena cut in. "Don't go." "What?" "It's a trap. Rally Point Zulu is compromised. Your command is feeding you into an ambush." Morrison's face went pale. "How can you know that?" "Because 6 years ago, my team got the same order, same urgent timeline, same rally point that was supposed to be safe. We walked right into a kill zone." Thornton felt his blood turn cold. "You're saying command is deliberately..." "I'm saying someone wants you dead, and they're using official channels to do it. If you go to Zulu, you won't board an evac bird. You'll walk into a prepared defensive position, and they'll wipe you out before you realize what's happening." Blake's voice cracked. "Then where do we go?" Silence on the channel. "Then, there's an old landing zone, 3 clicks north. It's outside the command network, but it's clear. If you can get there, I know someone who owes me a favor. I can get you out. Echo 7, we have orders. Your orders will get you killed." Thornton looked at his soldiers. 19 people, wounded, exhausted, trusting him to make the right choice. He thought about Major Henderson, about the ambush that had been too perfect, about coordinates that placed them exactly where the enemy wanted them. He thought about a sniper who'd been erased from the records because she'd asked the wrong questions. "Morrison, what do you think?" The lieutenant's jaw was tight. "I think if she wanted us dead, we'd already be dead. She's had a dozen chances." "Blake?" The corporal looked at the map. "Rally Point Zulu puts us in a valley. No cover. If it's hot, we're sitting ducks." Private Kim checked her rifle. "I trust the Ghost more than I trust command right now, sir." Thornton picked up the radio. "Echo 7, we'll follow your lead. But if this goes wrong, Captain, we die together, just like old times." There was something in her voice. Not quite humor, not quite bitterness, just acceptance. "Give us a route," Thornton ordered. Elena transmitted coordinates. "Heading 025. Stay in the trees. I'll scout ahead and clear the path. You have 16 minutes before the evac window closes." "What about you?" "What about me? How do you get out?" A long pause. "I don't." "Echo 7. I've been out here 6 years, Captain. I don't get to leave. But you do. So move your ass before I change my mind." The radio went silent. Morrison stared at Thornton. "She's staying behind. She's covering our withdrawal. Sir, we can't just abandon. She's not asking for rescue. She's asking us to survive." Thornton stood, addressing the company. "Everyone up. We're moving north. Stay tight. Stay quiet. And whatever you hear behind us, you don't look back. They moved out. Elena watched them through her scope as they disappeared into the forest. 19 soldiers. 19 people who would live because she'd made a choice. It was more than she'd saved last time. Behind her, the enemy forces were regrouping. They'd figured out where Bravo Company was heading. They were setting up to intercept. She counted 40 soldiers. 3 armored vehicles, 1 officer coordinating the operation. 4 rounds left in her rifle. Not enough to stop them, but enough to slow them down. Elena adjusted her position one last time, found the perfect angle, settled her breathing. The officer raised his radio, giving orders. She centered the crosshairs. "This is for my team," she whispered, and pulled the trigger. The officer dropped. Chaos erupted. Soldiers scattered. Armored vehicles activated protocols, cannons swiveling. But Elena was already moving. Stay mobile or die. She'd learned that long ago. She sprinted through snow to her next position, a collapsed bunker 300 meters west. At the bunker, she set up quickly. Rifle braced, scope acquiring targets. 3 rounds left. The lead armored vehicle moved slowly, turret scanning. The commander stood exposed in the hatch. Arrogant, fatal. She adjusted for wind, distance, movement. Fired. The commander fell. The convoy halted. 2 rounds. Elena displaced again. 50 meters. Close enough to be unexpected. Cover behind a massive fallen tree. Snow-covered, nearly invisible. She watched the enemy spreading. 40 soldiers looking for one target. She waited. Patient, letting them move deeper, letting them feel exposed. Then fired at the rearmost soldier. He dropped. The unit panicked. Spun. Fired wildly. 1 round left. They were confused. Disoriented. Elena checked her watch. 12 minutes until extraction window closed. Bravo Company would be at the landing zone now, waiting, vulnerable. She had to keep the enemy here. She keyed her radio, knowing they were listening. Echo 7 to Bravo 6. Enemy forces pinned at my position. Get your people on that bird. That's an order. Thornton's voice. Echo 7, we're not leaving without. You don't have a choice. The mission is survival. Now move. She cut the channel. The enemy officers were shouting. They'd heard. Elena saw them splitting forces. 20 would pursue her. 20 would break toward the landing zone. Damn. 1 bullet left. She scanned the formation for the critical target. Not the leader, not the soldiers. Then she saw it. The armored vehicle's fuel tank. External. Poorly shielded. Puncture it. Create fire. Block the path. Force them to take a longer route. By minutes. But it was a difficult shot. Small target, moving vehicle, extreme angle, wind gusting to 15 knots, temperature dropping, snow obscuring sight. Elena closed her eyes. 3 slow breaths. Opened them. Settled the crosshairs. Accounted for everything. 1 shot, she whispered, make it sing. The world narrowed to the scope, to the crosshairs, to the trigger. She exhaled completely. Held the empty space. Squeezed. The rifle kicked. 800 meters. Through wind, through snow, through the gap between disaster and survival. It struck the fuel tank dead center. A heartbeat. Nothing. Then flame erupted. The vehicle lurched, fire spreading. Soldiers scrambled away. The forest path was blocked. Elena smiled grimly, then dropped the rifle and ran. Because now she had no ammunition, and 40 enemy soldiers knew exactly where she was. The helicopter appeared through the storm. Captain Thornton waved as it descended. Behind them, explosions echoed Elena, buying them time. "Everyone on board!" Morrison shouted. The soldiers rushed forward, wounded first, then the rest. Blake grabbed Thornton's arm. "Sir, we have to go back." She made her choice. Blake's face twisted with grief, but he nodded and climbed aboard. Thornton was last. As he gripped the frame, his radio crackled. Echo 7 to Bravo 6. He froze. Echo 7, what's your status? Heading into the mountains, leading them away from your extract. Echo 7, get to the LZ. We can wait. No, you can't. And I'm not coming. You saved our lives. Let us save yours. Silence. The pilot gestured urgently. They were exposed. Finally, Elena spoke. 6 years ago, my team called for evac. Command said birds were coming. We held position. We fought. We died. The birds never came. Her voice was steady. I didn't want that to happen to you. Echo 7. My name is Elena Navarro, Sergeant, 3rd Recon Battalion, declared Kia 6 years ago. Before I became a ghost, I want someone to know I was real. Thornton's throat tightened. Elena, we're not leaving you. You already did. 6 years ago. Along with everyone else. That wasn't. What matters is you make it back. Tell them what happened. Tell them someone in command is killing soldiers. Make sure my team didn't die for nothing. The pilot shouted. Enemy contacts. Elena, please. Bravo 6. This is Echo 7. Mission accomplished. Get your people home. That's an order. We're coming back for you. Don't make promises you can't keep, Captain. I learned that the hard way. Static. Morrison pulled him inside. The helicopter lifted. As they rose, Thornton saw her, a lone figure moving through snow, leading 40 soldiers away from the landing zone, into the mountains. Echo 7. Respond. Nothing. Elena, please. Static. The helicopter banked. The figure disappeared. They'd survived. But the cost felt too high. 3 months later, the inquiry concluded predictably. Operational failures, intelligence gaps, recommendations issued, no accountability. Captain Thornton's testimony about Echo 7 was classified as unreliable wartime reporting. Elena Navarro remained officially KIA. No search conducted, no recovery authorized. But in the barracks, soldiers talked. About the phantom sniper who saved Bravo Company. About the voice that appeared when hope died. About Echo 7. The story spread, changed, grew. Some said she died in the mountains. Others claimed she was still out there, watching over abandoned soldiers. A few whispered she'd become something else, not a soldier anymore, but a force. Lieutenant Morrison tracked the rumors obsessively. Impossible shots, failed ambushes, collapsed enemy positions. She compiled them into a file that officially didn't exist. The pattern was clear. Someone was still operating. Someone with extraordinary skill. Someone who only intervened when soldiers faced desperate situations. Do you think it's her? Blake asked one night. Someone's out there, Morrison replied. Whether it's Elena or someone using her call sign, I don't know. Why keep fighting? 6 years? No support? Morrison studied the map on her wall. The mountains. The endless terrain. Maybe she's not fighting. Maybe she's making sure no one else gets abandoned the way she was. 800 kilometers north, present day. The radio crackled in a besieged fire base. The commanding officer switched to an old frequency. Echo 7. This is Firebase Hawk. We need help. Static. Then, Echo 7 listening. Who needs me? 60 seconds later, the siege broke. Enemy positions exploded. Echo 7, thank you. You can survive. That's how. Your position? Exactly where I need to be. Echo 7 out. Later, his communications officer asked about the report. The officer pulled out a frequency card. Faded. Worn. Some things stay off the books. But if you're desperate, make this call. Who is she? A ghost. A promise. She's Echo 7.